Right, this is really, really exciting. We're on to our last 3 pages. So again, like I normally do, really, really quick recap. Loving all the ones that I'm seeing online at the moment. So I've started attaching all mine now into my book. If you get all these little frayed edges, you can either leave them or just snip them off, because we've not checked the edges of the pages. So we've got the circles, French knots. I think this is one of my favourite. It's really zingy yellow, and the weaving. Love the weaving. Just really simple, just enjoying the fabrics, enjoying the stitching. It's a little breather like we had in our big book, with the Suffolk Puff. Suffolk Puffs you can either use vintage ones or make your own. That's totally up to you, so I can't wait to see some of those. Our little breather page, did do a little bit more stitching on there. Really simple circles and straight stitch. Looks so effective yet so simple. Then we've got our little pocket with our little tag, and I found a tiny little sewing machine charm that I'd got. I'm not worried about the back with the stitches coming through at all, but if you want to stitch it open and then put it all together, then I've just put 2 little buttons on there just to secure that little ribbon. So we've got our little tag there. With the doily, I didn't know whether or not I was going to carry the stitching on all the way around, but I just quite like the edge of the doily. Originally I was going to put the pocket there and then trim it, but I just decided to leave it all the way on. Just a lovely little detail on there. And then the last bit that I was doing was the tiny paper piecing, popped a little extra one on there, and then because I hadn't cut my background fabric out very square, I ended up stitching it onto a darker bit, so I've got a darker frame that sort of brings out a little bit of the blue. So then we're on to our last few pages, and I'm just busy looking around now because I can't find the little bits that I just needed. There we go. So the next one that we're going to do, I thought we'd have a go at a little bit of fabric manipulation. So these are really, really lovely to do, and I learned about these on a course that I did this summer with Huddersfield University when we did some fabric manipulation. So to create the little flowers, what you're going to want are some little bits of fabric, and you're going to cut them into a circle. It's a really simple technique. It's really, really pretty. And then basically all you're going to do is you're going to create 4 of them for each of our little flowers. So all you do is take your circle, fold it in half, just finger press it, fold it in quarters, finger press, and then all you do is pop it onto the fabric and do a tiny, tiny little stitch in the middle. And then you put 4 of them round. If you can see them here, there's 4 tiny little stitches in the middle, and then they just lift up and create these lovely little textured flowers. Just turn it sideways so that you can see it. So you can put as many on as you want. The circles that I did, grab a ruler, they're about 2 centimetres in diameter. But you could do them different sizes. When you come to stitch them on, I was going to put buttons and things like that in the middle as well, but I just thought it's going to make the book a little bit too bulky. And then I've just done some tram lines of stitching just around the edge, and just got a little bit of a frayed piece on there. So that's the next one. So it's a bit of fabric manipulation. I'm going to come on to page 11 in a second, but then the last one, because we're doing 12 pages of Christmas, I know some people have really gone to town with Christmas, and we've got, we've got Christmas fabrics, Christmas colours, all sorts of different things. And I just thought, need a bit of bling. So the very last one I've done is a piece of, it's like a slubby silk fabric. And then I've just totally gone to town with little seed beads. I've got some tiny little bits here that were from a necklace. When I showed one of my friends one of this, she thought I'd actually stitched my kids' teeth onto it. I haven't. It was, I think, a necklace. I think they're tiny bits of shell with little holes drilled in them, some little sequins, and then just loads and loads of little beads, because you've got to finish with a little bit of bling. So that's the last page. So when I came back to this one, I was busy thinking about what to do, and I remembered that with the big book that we did, I said a book's always got to have a heart, and we haven't done a heart yet. So page number 11 is going to be a little heart. So I've started with a piece of backing fabric that's going to be the bit there on my page, and I've started saving and cutting off all my fabrics, all the selvage edges that's got all the writing on, the colour registrations and things like that, and it just so happened that those colours really matched my background. So I've pinned that on, so I'll end up stitching that on, and then what we're going to do is create like a little pocket. Well, not a pocket, it's going to be stitched there. So what I'm going to do is I'll pop a button at that side, and then this side here, that'll be tucked in and stitched onto there. So we'll just pop that there, pop a pin in. So this is how I tend to work, just pinning everything together, and then I sit and stitch them on an evening. So that's going to be stitched down, so it sort of gives us a little bit of a flap, and we're going to pop a little heart in there. So to make my heart, what I've done is I've got a little piece of braid's just gone dead. Blanket. There we go. Vintage blanket. I have some strips that, if you've been following the collaboration projects that we've been doing, I'd cut some of the bits off of my quilt, and I just thought the pink really, really matched. So what I've done first is, with my sewing machine, I had got this at Hand Embroidery, but I couldn't get it tight enough. So I wanted it to feel a little bit quilted. So I've set my machine to free machine, but you can just do a normal stitch. And I've gone around it 2 or 3 times in a colour that sort of matches. And then what I'm going to do is just trim this down to create my little heart shape. And then I'm just going to embellish it just with a tiny bit of vintage tatting that I've got. Just so then our book has a little heart. It's been lovely seeing everybody's work, and I'd like to do a special like Christmas community video. So if you are doing the book, please send me some of your pages. Keep tagging it on Instagram. So there we've got our little heart, and then the little heart will end up just fitting just in there. And I'll probably do some little bits of stitching and things like that, so I'll have some pictures of this on Instagram. I'm not sure about the colour of this. I did want a contrast, but I think the contrast might be a little bit too heavy, so I might have to look for another bit of fabric. I'm just looking around, I can't see anything just offhand, but I just like the texture of the wool that's on there. Can't really see anything just hand, but I could use so I've got some bits that I've used previously. You see, that's quite pretty with that flower, so that sort of then fits in with the colour scheme. Yeah, I think that might be a bit better. This is the bit that I love doing, it's like that we've talked about before, the auditioning of your fabrics. Oh yeah, that's pretty. Just make it a little bit narrower. And I might do some stitching on this before I actually stitch it down. There we go. So I'll turn that edge underneath. Pin that on there. Just make me smile when I do stuff like this, because when I'm getting everything ready, I think I've got all the colours right and everything looks okay. And then when you actually sit back then and look at it, sometimes it just doesn't always work. So I could wrap that round there. No, definitely want a button on there. There we go, that's better. So get the button, and then the little heart will just pop in. Yes, that looks better. definitely prefer that. So there we go. Those are all our pages. So on Instagram I'll post some pictures, and I'll add some pictures onto the end of this so that you've got some ideas. And then I'll be coming back with the putting it all together. There is one more thing we are going to do to this little book. I hadn't expected it to get so fat, so I'm quite glad I've got quite a fat tin. Yeah, so hopefully it'll fit once it's all put together. But if it doesn't matter. I've just really enjoyed doing it. So I'll be adding some other videos. There'll be one more video because people have asked me about the backs of the pages because I've kept them plain. But I have decided I am going to do something on the back. So the last video will cover the backs of the pages and also looking at putting it all together and popping it in its little quilt and then finishing it all off.